Hey, what's going on, everybody? Free Life Live here. And I thought it would be really cool to have you guys join in a study with me about The Coming Kingdom by Andy Woods. So, if you can see in the bottom right of the screen, that's his book right there. And I thought it would just be really cool to kind of do this study. I had a friend recommend this video series. And so I wanted to kind of do a live study where I learn and you guys can see what I learned. I think it'd be cool to look back on how I view things and process things. And yeah, I thought it'd be great. And so I apologize in advance if you guys hear beautiful singing in the back. My wife is teaching music lessons in another room. And I hope in the future we are looking to get a desk for our place soon. So maybe then I can have a camera on, look a little more homey rather than just this profile picture. But I think it'd be cool. And yeah, so I'm just gonna get into it. If anybody, or I see the comments. I see Free Grace Notes in the Layman Seminary. What's up, guys? Thank you guys so much. This was earlier. Oh, I guess Charles just said, I took the class 2 semesters ago. Look forward to this. Awesome. Sweet. Yeah, I am excited. So this is actually, we're going to start on session 2 because I did session 1 by myself. Sorry, guys. Maybe I'll come back eventually for it. But I got a notepad with me. I want to take notes because, I mean, this thing is a beast. Yeah, let's just look at it real fast. I'm going to share my screen and I will share. Let's just do entire screen, I guess. And then I can actually, no, we're going to do a window. I guess it doesn't turn. So first here, I want to show the playlist. So, all right. So this is the playlist. It's The Coming Kingdom, as you can see, Andy Woods. So it's so for those that don't know, Andy Woods has a book of The Coming Kingdom, and he kind of put it together, and he talks about in the first that it was first just a couple articles, and then he kept expanding it, and now it is this monster of a series and a study and a book. And if you see, I'll scroll down. I mean, we have all these sessions, they're an hour long each, and it's 84. So it's 84 hours. That's a good chunk of my life. And I am hoping that it will be worth it to go through it. And so I don't want to have any confirmation bias. I am dispensational right now as I view it. I am premillennial, I am pre-trib, but I'm open to being, to being changed. And so, I'm studying constantly. I hope to look at more things. And I know that Andy Woods is going to pretty much say things that I already agree with, but I've never really done never done a big study on the kingdom. And it's really interesting because his book, and I will, I'm just going to share my screen so I don't have to slip back over and over again between you guys. So I'm just going to do this. And I'm really excited because his book, The Coming Kingdom, if you can see on the screen, it says right here, what is the kingdom and how is kingdom now theology changing the focus of the church? I think that's a really good question because I had never thought about the implications of that. And so I'm really excited to do this. And I first want to say, no credit to me at all. This is all Andy Wood's material, his study, his thing. I mean, he just has done a great job. And so what I am looking forward to doing right now is getting into this, having you guys here. If you guys have comments, I mean, will people watch this? Probably not. It won't be a big thing. But if it is, if anyone's watching along, I think it'd be cool. Make maybe these long lectures, maybe someone wants to study, but that this would, how do you say, it's like you're watching it with someone. So it kind of even makes it more fun. So maybe someone that wouldn't dedicate the time. And I think doing these streams would make me more accountable to actually getting through it. So I think that'd be great. So what I'm going to do is get right into it. Let's see. Layman Seminary, I see you. This is Charles. He says, yes, I first read it at his blog post before he was ever at Schaefer. And then real-time learning. Yeah, exactly. Real-time learning. And again, this is not my content at all. As you can see, bottom right corner, The Coming Kingdom, Andy Woods. That's his book right there. I don't have it. I want it. It's a little expensive, on a missionary budget here. For those that don't know, I do missions in Utah with my wife, and we preach to Latter-day Saints. And so, yeah, I'm actually writing a book on sharing the gospel of grace with Latter-day Saints. And so I hope to have that out soon. But okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start now because that's a long intro. And so I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go. So we are starting on the second session because, oops, sorry, did the first one by myself. Can you blame me? No. Please do not blame me. So here we go. I'm going to have it right here. I'm just going to get my screens all set up and ready. So everything is good. If anybody is watching, please let me know if this is good. You know what? I can actually check myself. There's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. What about this? Yeah, let's get this bigger. You guys don't need to see a screen that's not even there. Awesome. Cool. And I'm going to try and have the comments off to the side. Brother Jerry looks good. Hey, Brother Jerry, thank you for joining. I appreciate you being here. Okay, yeah, sweet. Looks good. Looks good. Awesome. All right. Then let's get into it. I'm going to do this on 1.25. Okay, it already is. See, there we go. So again, like I said, I did the first one by myself. And I'll be taking notes. So if you hear a pen scribbling, that means, you know, your boy is writing it down. Okay, here we go. And if you guys can't hear it or anything, please let me know. I'm going to turn up my volume just so. All right. First ever watch party.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, Mr. Woods. Can you guys hear Mr. Woods?
Can you hear me?
Dr. Woods?
Hello. Okay, good. Does anybody need a copy of the handout for tonight? Just put your hand up and Ron will help you. And if you never got a copy of this book that we're using as a study.
Oh, and I wanted to say, if anybody's interested, in the notes of, so in my description, I have the book if you guys want to buy it. And I also have the link to the playlist if anybody sees this in the future that wants to know. But in the description of the playlist and every one of these videos, Dr. Woods, you can go and you can get his slides, his transcripts, and the audio. Okay, so pretty much, you can get everything. Okay, so everyone said that's good. Charles says, hold on, I'm just trying to share. If you need a handout, put your hand up. Yeah, I need a handout, Dr. Woods.
Guide, The Coming Kingdom. Can you put your hand up and we'll get you one of these? Ray, can you Earl, help with the books? Yeah, if you need a copy of the book, just put your hand up.
Okay. Oh, and we lost him.
Yeah. So if you need a copy of the book, put your hand up. There's someone in the back. Actually, there's a couple.
Also, can I just say Sugarland Bible Church? Come on. That's a dope name right there.
Couple people. Looks like 3 people back there. So you might just take that box back there. And if anybody ever wants their book signed, I'm willing to do that for a small fee. No, I'm kidding. That was a joke, by the way. People might be here for the first time. I can't believe that. All right. Everybody got a handout and book, hopefully. Yeah, we need one more book. Earl, they're making you do your workout. What's that? Okay, well, I think we're out of handout, so people might have to look on with a neighbor. All right, well, let's take our Bibles, if we could, and open them to the book of Genesis, chapter 12.
All right. Genesis chapter 12. Let me get my Bible, my preaching Bible.
All right, well, I want to welcome everybody back as we are in session 2 of a study on the kingdom. which to me is a very exciting study because to understand the kingdom, you have to understand the whole Bible. So this study will take you to the high points of the whole Bible on this issue of the kingdom, Genesis to Revelation. And the material we're going to start covering tonight is in chapter 3. I don't think we'll get through everything in chapter 3 tonight.
Yeah, he said chapter
We'll likely
12.
finish it next time. So if you haven't read chapter 3, you might want to try to have that read by next week.
Oh, he's talking about his own book.
And the material we're going to start covering tonight is in chapter 3. I don't think we'll get through everything in chapter 3 tonight. We'll likely finish it next time. So if you haven't read chapter 3, you might want to try to have that read by next week to keep up. And you'll recall from the beginning of our study, our introductory lesson, we're following this outline.
Yes.
That has 4 parts to it, and we're just here in part 1, kingdom. This particular point has...
Oh, am I lagging? I'm sorry, everybody. I think my connection can be spotty at times, so I apologize for that if so. But okay.
Has 17 stops on it. So we're only barely making our way into point 2 here, the Abrahamic covenant.
All right, stop number 2.
But you might recall from last week that we saw that the story of the kingdom really begins in Genesis.
There are 17 stops on the bus, Mr. Wood. Dr. Woods, I apologize. Dr. Woods said there are 17 stops on the bus we are on. Stop number 2.
This is 1.
We drove through the garden last time.
Verses 26 through 28, because that's...
Oh, actually, and for people that, in case they want to know, I'll just say, yeah, so the first one, so I have the notes down. I pretty much wrote all of what he said. But with Eden, right, so we have Genesis 1, 26, 28, right? God gives a command to be fruitful, multiply, right? Take dominion. You rule through humanity. So he's ruling through humanity over creation, right? So he's using Adam and Eve as what he calls, Dr. Woods, the theocratic administrators, right? And they're ruling over creation, and this is how it was designed. And in the theocratic kingdom. Now, there's the universal kingdom. There's a difference between those two. That's what Dr. Woods talked about. But he talks about how we can see this. Fruitenbaum says, naming is the first action of exercising dominion, right? And actually, that naming things throughout the Bible actually has significance in doing that. So when we look at like Genesis 1:8, Numbers 32, 2 Kings 23, Daniel 1:6, things like that, where you can actually see the authority played out in all those verses. I'm just going to fly by on all this stuff. So what we get is the fall is actually the reversal of this hierarchy that God put into place, and that it destroyed God's plan of having a theocratic administrator. And at the moment of the fall, the office of theocratic administrator is removed from earth, right? Results of Adam and Eve's sin. One is religion. You get broken fellowship. He has buck passing as one. He didn't explain that, but I'm sure he'll get into it maybe in the future. And the reversal of creation hierarchy. And yeah, like Charles just said, the universal eternal kingdom versus the theocratic mediatorial kingdom. I thought this was super interesting what he said last time. He said Satan, or the enemy, or however you want to, whatever name you want to give him, comes as a snake. And that was purposeful to reverse the hierarchy that God had placed, right? So Adam and Eve listened to an animal when they actually should be ruling over the animal. Oh, buck passing, blaming. Oh, okay. See, that's that. See, I grew up in North Carolina, but I wasn't that Southern. So that's good to know. But I thought that was super cool. And then we see the buck passing, the blaming, right? So Adam shifts it to the wife, and the wife shifts it to the serpent. So anyways, that is just like, whoa, I never even heard of that. And then the world became the devil's playground. And then we can see that through the titles of Satan. He's called the prince of this world, the god of this age, right? Who the believer wrestles, the prince and the power of the air, the roaring lion. And I'm reading these all off my notes. You guys can see all this in his own thing. And what he said is that Adam was ruling with Eve, right? And the parallel at the end is, where is Christ Eve, right? Christ is the last Adam, whereas his Eve at the end. It's the church, and the church will rule with Christ in the last Adam's kingdom as his bride. Earth cannot go out of existence until the earthly theocratic kingdom runs its course. And he said if it doesn't, then it actually turns God into a perpetual, makes him look like a perpetual loser. And I thought that was really interesting to think about. And so I'll leave it with this, is that what Woods is going to be arguing here throughout this study is that this study is about the theocratic kingdom, and the goal of history, God's goal and the Bible, is to restore this theocratic kingdom. So anyways, that's that. And now we're actually going to get into it.
God.
Sorry, guys. That was a little long.
In Adam and Eve to govern creation for God. So that's them. And you know from Genesis 3 that what happens is Adam and Eve, particularly Eve, who then influenced Adam, starts to listen to...
Yeah. The Layman Seminary says, he must succeed in the realm that man was defeated in. Right? Reparaphrased. Yeah, exactly. Such an interesting idea.
Animals. One in particular, a talking snake. And in the process, rebel against God. So that's a top-to-bottom perversion of the kingdom that God has established.
That's true.
God originally wanted to govern the first Adam, and the first Adam is to govern creation.
Actually, you know what, guys? For internet's sake, I'm actually going to grab an Ethernet real fast. If you give me 5 seconds, I will put on the ambient music so that no one knows that I'm gone. Okay. I believe that I've turned on my Ethernet. If not, I'm trying to make my connection better for you guys. And I don't know if it's working. I hope it is. Yeah, I'm going to go to my... We're working out all the kinks. That's what's good about this. If you're watching this in the future, guess what? Just fast forward. It's not that big a deal. So this says, okay, so this says Ethernet is not connected, but it definitely is. So that's a little concerning. Huh. Well, it's like not going in. All right, we can figure it out. I think the Wi-Fi has been holding up pretty good, all things considered. So we are going to continue. Here we go. Comments. Okay. Layman Seminary is there commenting. Thank you for commenting, Charles. Okay. We all good? Let's get it.
For God. Satan gets our forebears to listen to the animals and rebel against God.
Yes.
And the moment that happened is the moment the kingdom, what we call the theocratic kingdom, disappeared from planet Earth. And who became the ruler of this world?
Satan.
The devil did.
Yeah,
Old Testament.
Hey,
says this
that's
over
one
and over
for
again.
one, everybody.
So the story of the Bible really is, how is that structure that God established in Eden, how does it come back to the earth? And we know one day that God the Father will govern not the first Adam, but the last Adam, who will govern creation for God over this earth, and that's called the millennial kingdom. So really what's happening in the Bible is, how is this millennial kingdom brought back to the earth? And it happens in different stages, and the Old Testament in particular is filled with promises.
Mm-hmm.
So then we go to step 2, which is the Abrahamic covenant. And here we see starting to come into existence the promises of God and the plan of God through which the kingdom is going to be restored. And the Abrahamic covenant, as you'll see, is a massive topic.
Whoa.
If you understand the covenant that God made with Abraham, the rest of the Bible will make sense to you. If you don't understand the Abrahamic covenant and what God covenanted himself to do, what is happening in the Bible seems very strange and mysterious.
Okay, and you know what? I will say this is true because when doing evangelism with Latter-day Saints, I mean, if you look through the Bible about being saved by faith alone, how many times is it referenced back to Abraham as like the picture of like, look, Abraham believed, right? Abraham believed, and that he's like the poster boy for believing in God's promises. And so I like, it's a really good point that if you don't understand this covenant, I think, yeah, that's going to have repercussions in the future. Not even just eschatologically, eschatologically. If you think these like the land, the seed, the blessing, and all that stuff. But anyways, I just think that's super true. Especially I see that when evangelizing to Latter-day Saints, who also believe that they are the true Israel, right? So that's a whole other thing. Okay.
Because what is happening in the Bible is God is working to make good on promises that he made through Abraham. So we have all kinds of different things to talk about with the Abrahamic covenant. I've got these divided up into subparts.
Okay, good.
I don't think we'll get through all these tonight,
but
at least we can get a good start at it. The first point is the necessity of the Abrahamic covenant. God calls a man named Abraham, whose name at that time was just Abram,
mm-hmm.
and he decides to start a new nation. And we might ask ourselves, well, why didn't God just use an existing nation? And there's an answer to that in Genesis 11. See, God starts to work with Abraham in Genesis 12.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens in Genesis 11 explains the reason why God is working with Abraham in Genesis 12. So you can't understand Genesis 12 unless you first understand Genesis 11. So there's a reason that Genesis 11 comes before Genesis 12 in your Bible.
Yeah, and again, I just want to say this. What I have appreciated through dispensational hermeneutics, or that literal, historical grammatical approach, is this fact right here, is that now what I believe Dr. Woods is about to do is build, right? He's going to build from 3, 11, 12. It's all a sequence. And when you think about it, wouldn't the God who is not a God of confusion make it in a way this simple? But a lot of us, we say it's not simple, but I think that's us bringing in the confusion a lot of times. I feel like I know more about the Bible now just by reading the actual words and taking them for what they are than all the other kinds of systems that I've been influenced by before. Whether that be Reformed or just the allegorizing and those kinds of things. So anyways, I'm really excited because I just want to hear what he has.
You guys agree with that thinking, that chapter 11 comes before chapter 12? Okay.
I do.
Now, story of the Tower of Babel. And even before we get to the story of the Tower of Babel, right after the fall of man, God made a promise in Genesis 3:15. We call this the proto-evangelium, which just means first gospel. It's the first proclamation of the gospel in the whole Bible.
Ooh.
And right after man fell, God said to the serpent, I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise you on the head, and you shall bruise him on the heel.
And this is not to be confused with Mary, because I grew up in Catholic school, and I went to St. Mary Catholic school, and they had statues of Mary crushing the serpent's head. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that before. Hold on. We're going to have to detour. Let's see. Hold on. I mean, y'all probably know that y'all probably know that that's a thing, but I'm just trying to find a good. Oh, here, this might work. Hold on. Yeah. Something like this. Here, hold on. Let me share my screen. See, I want to make this. I want to make this fun for everybody. I want this to be like it's like a road trip, right? Like we're stopping on different stops, just like the bus of these videos. Hold on. Now maybe my stops take a little longer, but they have to for the sake of. Okay, hold on. Can y'all see it? Can y'all see it? So so we had statues just like this in my Catholic school, where and it said, "Did Mary crush the serpent's head?" See, Catholic Bible student. So now I think they say yes, she did, in the sense that she gave birth to Jesus, right? But isn't it weird? Isn't it a little weird? You know, why not just do a? I mean, you already do statues. Might as well just do one of Jesus. But also, no, I just think it's weird. Okay, anyways. Hey, Josie, thanks for stopping by. We're doing the study, and I took a detour to talk about the Catholic study statues, or the Catholic statues that I used to see growing up. So, okay, we are going to get back to Dr. Andy Woods. All right, Genesis.
So there is coming a person through Eve. There's coming a person through her seed.
Yep.
Who will crush Satan's head,
Mhm.
age at that point, and destroy it, and turn things back to how God originally intended in Genesis 1.
Mm.
And as you go through early Genesis, what you'll discover is this promise is channeled through Seth.
Oh, okay. Hold on. I don't know if he's gonna go over this, but I definitely want to look into this. So I'm gonna just write this for 2 seconds. Hold on. God's messianic purposes. All right, we got the first proclamation, right? That is 3:15. Yep. And 21 totally. And then we have Seth. Okay, that's 4:25. We got Noah. Well, I can always go back and do this. I probably wouldn't want to waste y'all's time. And he'll probably go through it, maybe even just mention it. So I'm not going to act like he's not. So we're just going to keep going. I'll save my notes for.
Through Noah, channeled through Shem. Now, from the word Shem, you get the word Sem. So we know that this Messiah, when he comes, is going to come through the Semitic peoples of the earth. We don't know it's Israel at this point because we don't have any knowledge of Israel in Genesis 9.
Because
and then
Israel
you get to
doesn't
Genesis
exist.
12 and verse 3, and this is where you start to learn that God is going to work through a specific man. And through that man is going to come a specific series of descendants, ultimately called the Hebrews. And through the Hebrews is going to come this kingdom that God wants to reassert over the earth. And then, of course, the promise will be passed down through the patriarchs from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob. And then Genesis 49 and verse 10 is very specific because of the 12 tribes of Israel. It gives you the specific tribe that the Messiah is going to come from, the tribe of what? Judah, Genesis 49:10. So that theme is developing from Genesis, I guess, chapter 3 through Genesis 9.
Yes.
But as that theme is developing, the devil is working, right?
True.
And you start to see the devil's work at the Tower of Babel, or Babel, Genesis 11, verses 1 through 9. Most of us know this story from Sunday school. But it says, now the whole earth used the same language and the same words, and it came about as they journeyed east. They found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there.
Mm-hmm.
Where is Shinar? Shinar is an area called Mesopotamia. That's a Greek name.
What?
It's a compound word. Meso means middle.
Okay. Hold on.
Rivers.
Hold on. Is this true? Because this would be crazy. Hold on. Shinar? Yep. Southern region of Mesopotamia. Dude, here's the thing. I didn't grow up in church, but you hear the Tower of Babel. Man, that's like a kiddie story. It's just, everyone was trying to just get up to God and then God confused them, pish posh kind of. Dude, this story is like so deep, right? I mean, it actually has to have it has to have some crazy, like, I couldn't imagine like, imagine being there. Man, this was so serious back then. It's crazy how we just take it and we're just like, oh, like Tower of Babel. Whatever. It's crazy. Anyways, okay.
You recognize the word Potomac, a famous river in America, coming from that word Potamia. Mesopotamia literally means between the rivers.
There you have it, guys. The U.S. will be a part of the end times, and that is where Jesus is going to reign. No, I'm just kidding. It's kind of crazy, though, those conservatives out there. Well, not that I'm not conservative. I'm talking about those. You guys get what I'm saying.
What rivers am I talking about? The Euphrates and the Tigris. And the Hebrew name for that area is called Shinar. If you've been tracking with us on Sunday morning, it's where Daniel and his 3 friends were taken into captivity in the 6th century BC. And at this time, as you know the story, now the whole earth used the same language.
Yes.
So there were no multiple languages at this point. There was only one language. So the reason that's significant is because what you have to understand that what happened at the Tower of Babel affected every culture. It's kind of like throwing a rock into a placid pond and you watch the wake reverberate in all directions. What happened at Babel, the evil that was happening at Babel was exported into every language, into every culture, because all people groups can trace their origin back to the Tower of Babel. And you see, this is necessary explanation to understand why God has to raise up a new nation. He's got to raise up a nation independent of the universal effects of the Tower.
Bro. He needs to start a new nation after Babel because it's already spread. Dude, come on. Hold on. We got to run that back.
Every culture. It's kind of like throwing a rock into a placid pond.
Yeah.
The reason that's significant at this point, there was only one language.
One language.
So the reason that's significant is because what you have to understand that what happened at the Tower of Babel affected every culture. It's kind of like throwing a rock into a placid pond and you watch the wake reverberate in all directions. What happened at Babel, the evil that was happening at Babel was exported into every language, into every culture, because all people groups can trace their origin back to the Tower of Babel.
Why?
And you see, this is necessary explanation to understand why God has to raise up a new nation. He's got to raise up a nation independent of the universal effects of the Tower of Babel. And that's why God worked with Abraham in a special way. So it says, now the whole earth used the same language and the same words, and it came about as they journeyed east. They found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they settled there, and they said to one another, come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly. And they used brick for stone, and they used tar for mortar.
Yes.
And they said, come, let us build for ourselves a city and a tower whose top will reach into heaven. Let us make a name for ourselves. So obviously these people aren't doing things for God's glory. They're doing things for self-glory. Otherwise, we'll be scattered over the face of the earth. The Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. The Lord said, behold, they are one people, and they all have the same language. And this is what they began to do. And now nothing which they purpose to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us, see the triunity of God there? That's an early hint of the Trinity. Come, let us go down and confuse their language so that they will not understand one another's speech. From there, over the face of the whole earth, and they stopped building the city. Therefore, its name was called Babel or Babel, which literally means gate. B-A-B there means gate. And so they were trying to build what I like to call a stairway to heaven. They were trying to make a path into heaven without God's grace.
A gate to God. Okay.
Be there.
Where does he get it from?
Gate of the gods. L means God. Literally means gate of the gods.
L
means God, and B-A-B there means gate. And so they were trying to build what I like to call a stairway to heaven. They were trying to make a path into heaven without God's grace.
And I've heard that
It's
before.
basically works righteousness. Because there the Lord confused the language of the whole earth. And from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of the whole earth.
Yes, he did.
So what you have to understand, and the biblical text doesn't tell me this, I'm depending on, you'll notice at the bottom of the screen there, a book by Alexander Hislop, which is considered a classic,
Of
called
the
The Two Babylons.
mother-child cult.
And Hislop did a study of Babylonian tradition. He got his hands on everything that he could find in extra biblical material that dealt with Babylon, and he writes about it in this book, what was happening at the Tower of Babel. The Tower of Babel was coming together under a man named Nimrod, who is mentioned in the biblical text. He's mentioned in Genesis 10 and verses 8 through 10. In fact, Nimrod's very name means revolt. So he is the first prefigurement, if you will, of the coming Antichrist. And Hislop says that Nimrod was married to a woman named Semiramis. And essentially what happened is that the two of them had a child named Tammuz.
Huh.
Tammuz was killed by a wild animal.
Whoa.
But then Tammuz was miraculously resurrected to life. You know, very similar to the way Satan in Revelation 13 is going to bring the Antichrist back to life in the tribulation period. So what happened is everybody started to worship this mother and the mother and the child. So they worshipped Semiramis and they worshipped Tammuz. And that was the whole religious system that was in place in Genesis 11. So God did not like this one world project. You know, we talk a lot about one world government and people wanting one world government. This is man's first attempt at one world government.
Yeah, Babel.
And they were basically trying to build what we would call a new world order, which is a system of politics, economics, and religion that excludes God, that controls every facet of a person. And this system was political, the system was economic, and the system was also religious. And it was religious in the sense that people were worshiping, according to Hislop, the mother and the child. And God understands something about human nature. He understands that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So God did not like this project, so he went in and performed a miracle so that people couldn't understand each other. So from one language, you now have multiple languages. So from there...
Which also, can I just say, I mean, how wild would that be? Like, you're building brick next to Buddy next to you, right? Just talking. Oh, you know, what are you gonna have for lunch? You turn to him and you hear him speak in something you have never even conceived before. I mean, that would be freaky. You're freaking out. What? You know, I actually think there's memes about that. Hold on, Babel. Let's hold on. Tower of Babel confusion meme. Hold on. There's like little videos on it. Oh yeah. Hold on. I'm gonna share my screen real fast. All right. Here, y'all watch this. Now I know I'm using TikTok. Please don't judge me too hard. Oh, come on.
What's up?
No, we're spoiling.
Pretty lucky. Say what?
Okay, that wasn't very fun because they need us to. Here we go. Here's the free version. Here, watch this.
How you feeling? What's up? How you feeling, man? Pretty lucky. Say what? I'm fine. I'm pretty fine. What? Yeah.
Now, obviously, it's more serious than that. But could you imagine? Oh, that'd be so funny. Okay. All right. Hey guys, come on, guys. This is a study. No laughing aloud.
The human race spread abroad. So people that spoke one language went one direction. People that spoke a different language went a different direction. People that spoke even another language went a different direction. And what did each culture take with them? A piece of the religious system of the Tower of Babel. See that? So the point is, every country on planet Earth.
That's interesting. Each one took a piece. I mean, they're all different religions. That's really interesting.
Has been corrupted by the system. It's just, and Hislop says you can look at all kinds of cultures and you can find remnants of this mother-child.
All right, I think if Hislop, there's 2 Babylons. I think we just added to the book list. I may need to. That is something really interesting.
Worship system. It's just the names get changed from culture to culture. So in Assyria, the mother is called Ishtar. By the way, what word do we get from Ishtar? Easter. So all this stuff about bunnies and eggs and things like that, y'all realize that's not in the Bible. That's Babylonian paganism that we've incorporated into our holiday. The mother is called Ishtar, the child is called Tammuz. In Phoenicia, the mother was called Astarte, the child was called Baal. In Egypt, the mother was called Isis, the child is called Osiris or Horus. In Greece, the mother is called Aphrodite, the child is called Eros. In Rome, the mother is called Venus, the child is called Cupid.
Yeah, I wonder, I'd love to look into this book because I'd really wonder, I'd love to see where the aspects, like, how do we, like, why is that the wife, the mother and the child? You know, because aren't there, you know, plurality of gods and stuff? So that's really interesting. Okay.
So I've already wrecked Easter. I might as well wreck Valentine's Day. This thing where you shoot an arrow into somebody and they madly fall in love with you, Cupid and all these things, that's Babylonianism.
Yeah. Hey, we're not about that. We are definitely not about that. Valentine's is about me giving my wife sugar-free chocolate. That's what that's about. Yeah. And if y'all need it, hey, if y'all, I'm telling y'all, my wife has got me eating so good. I swear, seriously. Cut out added sugars. I'm gluten free because I can't really process. But you cut out added sugar, cut out those bad oils, canola oil, things like that. I'm telling you, you will feel so much better. And there's good chocolate that has no added sugar. It's this brand called Lily's. They're one. And then, man, I do not know the name of the other one. I know what it looks like, and I just get it every time. But yeah, just seriously, it's really good for you. Okay.
I still think you should celebrate Valentine's.
Hey, we're getting everything in these studies. This is my channel. I have free reign. It is fun for me. Okay.
Valentine's Day too, unless you want to go to divorce court or something. Don't tell your spouse your church said we're not going to celebrate Valentine's Day anymore. In Asia, the mother is called Cybele, the child is called Odysseus. In India, the mother is called Isi, the child is called Aswara. Now, Alexander Hislop is no friend of Roman Catholicism.
Man, and see, I just study Mormonism. Like all this stuff, man, there are so many things. You know, we need Christians in if you're a Christian and, you know, pick one of these to study and go reach those people. Because, man, it takes so long to even understand Mormonism. And we use the same words and it still takes so long. Imagine all these words. So, you know, we're praying for that. We're praying for that.
If you mention Alexander Hislop around Roman Catholics, they will, and if they're well read, they'll react angrily against the name Alexander Hislop, because Hislop's point is the Mary and Jesus of Roman Catholicism is not the Mary and Jesus of the Bible. We accept that as true because we had a Protestant Reformation. So in the Roman Catholic system, Mary is actually like a co-redemptress. And she is actually someone that you pray to.
Yeah, like co-redemptrix. Isn't that the word? Yeah. She is someone you pray to. Yeah.
And Mary, of course, they believe remained a virgin her whole life. They call that the immaculate or the perpetual virginity of Mary.
Yeah, I remember learning that. I knew that Mary was sinless before I knew that Jesus was sinless. I remember that growing up. Yeah.
Which is sort of hard to argue because Jesus had a lot of half-brothers, didn't he? And Jesus, of course, in Roman Catholicism, is just it's a works-based system.
Yep.
So Hislop said this mother-child cult went right into Roman Catholicism and adopted the Jesus. And this is why God raised up Israel, because Israel was the only name of this mother-child cult. This is why when the mother-child cult later on in Israel's history comes into the borders of Israel, God is irate at this. For example, comes into the borders of Israel, God is irate at this. For example, notice a few verses, Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Chapter 7, verse 8. Later on, children gather and the fires kindle the fire, and the women knead
Oh my goodness. You guys. I am so sorry. I have been muted. I do not know how long I have been speaking so much that definitely stinks. I am so sorry. Okay, again, like I said, we got kinks and that will not happen anymore. I talked so much about Catholicism and I talked so much about everything else. Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. What? I think that's true. I think I've heard that too. Okay. Nah. I make this 1.5. How are we doing? Yeah, maybe that's maybe a little too fast. Nah. Hmm. That is so interesting. Wow. Wow. Mhm. Okay. Hmm. And and I think that makes sense, right? I mean, it only makes sense that before he was worshiping the true God, he wasn't, right? So I think that definitely makes sense. I will say, yeah, think about that faith, man. Look at this picture. God had Abraham trekking. We we won't even walk to the store nowadays. We need our car. Look at that. Imagine having to walk that, especially back then, with like nothing that we have now. Come on. That's crazy. That's crazy. God really said, "Trust me." And sorry if you guys can hear my wife in the back again. She's teaching lessons, so you're gonna hear some funny noises for a little bit. She's doing her voice exercise warm ups, and so if you hear sirens, yes, if you hear police sirens, don't worry about it. Janet, hi, brother Cole. Hey, Janet, how you doing? We're going through this study, walking through. I was muted for a good while. I realized that, and I turn now I'm talking again. So, yeah, okay. Thank you for joining. Yeah, if you have any questions or any thoughts, please post them. So we're just going through the second session right now. Mm-hmm. Oh, she says I'm listening right now. No sound. Okay, so is there really no sound? Like no sound coming out from the video? Should be sharing. Everything should be good. Let me. Or you mean no sound in the background? If so, that's good. Oh, no sound from the video. What? Oh no. If that's true, that would stink. Um, because I thought that there was. So let me stop. Let me try again. Share screen. Also share tab audio. I have that on. Let me try again. So you can hear me. Thank you for telling me, Janet. We're really gonna have to iron out all these kinks. Um, let me try again.
Bless you. I will make your name great,
Can you hear that?
and so you shall be a blessing.
Is it good? Good.
I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse, and in you all the families of the earth will be blessed. And then dropping down to verse 7, it says, the Lord appeared to Abram and said, to your I will give this land. That's Canaan, later called the land of Israel, whose borders are going to
Okay,
be
great.
developed
You're here
for
now.
us
That's
a little bit
awesome.
later in the Bible.
Phew.
So by my count here, there's about 9 promises that God made to Abram at this point. Number 1, he'd become a great nation.
All right.
Number 2,
Wait,
God said he'd bless him.
hold on, I gotta flip my page. We got 9
Number
promises.
3, God said he'd make his name great. And it is interesting to me that the name of Abraham is revered in the 3 greatest religions of the world:
So we got great
Judaism,
nation,
Christianity, and Islam. All, I say great religions in the sense of the most influential religions. They all have a high regard for
blessed,
Abram to some extent. And so we can see how literally God fulfills these promises.
great name.
You shall be a blessing. In other words, the blessings I'm going to give you are not just for you. I'm going to channel my blessings to the whole world through you.
Will be a blessing.
I will bless those who bless you is another promise. Another promise is I will curse the one who curses you. Now, the devil doesn't like these promises, so he's always working in history to blot out Israel. So God made provision for Abram and his descendants that those who curse the nation of Israel would be cursed. And in you all the families of the earth will be blessed. That's another promise. And then later on in verse 7, he gives them the promise.
Hold up. You know what I'm going to do, guys? I am going to do this. I'm going to make this a great opportunity to give you guys, no matter when you're listening to this, I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to bless those who bless Israel and Abraham's descendants. So if you guys, I want to, let me build. So here, I want you guys to see this. So this is, please tell me if you guys can see this. Can you guys see B-O-I, boy? All right. So here's the thing. This is Builders of Israel. So this is run by my good friend David Halevi, who is a descendant of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. He is ethnically Jewish, and he does ministry in Israel right now. Right now, he does ministry in Israel. He is a believer in Jesus, Yeshua, and he right now is preaching the gospel as a missionary, him and his family in Israel to the Jewish people. Right? Look, if you go to About right here, why we exist. Builders of Israel exists to build the remnant of Israel and to be a light to the nations. We abide in the Messiah of Israel, he who was, who is, and who is to come, the Aleph and the Tav. His name is salvation. He is our Lord, King, and friend. He who became sin, who knew no sin. He who conquered death, now holds the keys to death and Sheol. The Son of Man who came as our Passover lamb and perfect sacrifice. The Son of Joseph who came as the priest. And the Son of David who will return as king. We exist to follow Yeshua of Nazareth. And the command to bring his good news of a new covenant to the nation of Israel first and also to the nations. Okay, so what I want, if you guys have the heart, and by what I mean by that is like the capability. I know we all have a heart, but I would love if you guys would think about blessing them where they live on race support. Right here, they are praying for the hostages. Right now, they're living through a war. This is David Halevi's book. If you guys would like to learn how better to witness to your Jewish friends and family, even right. So it's an ambassador's guide to the Jewish people, and they have a podcast with Jew and Gentile Radio. I know both the hosts. They're great. They're great. And building the people in the land. You guys can see this, right? So study Torah outreach, all that kind of stuff. And so basically, who is Builders of Israel? You guys can read about it. I don't want to get too far off track, but look, see this huge button that says donate? See this huge button? You can click that and you can donate to them one time, monthly, every day if you want / can. I just want to give you guys the opportunity to bless a descendant of Israel, a family descended from Israel, preaching Yeshua to them, right? And God says, I will bless those who bless you, I'll curse those who curse you. So why don't we follow what God says? Why don't we bless, right? So anyways, I just wanted to share that with you guys because their mission is near and dear to my heart, and they are near and dear to me too. So also be praying for them. Be praying for them. A war is going on right now. So why don't we just lift them up in prayer? Um, yeah, man, it's hard to think about, because I know them personally, and yeah. So, anyways, be praying for them, and we'll get back to Dr. Woods.
Of the land. So these are about, by my count, 9 promises that God made to Abraham, whose name was still Abram, as he was walking by faith and leaving Ur of the Chaldeans. So the thing to understand is God calls Abraham because it's necessary. Every other nation had been corrupted. And these promises really help explain how God is going to make good on his promise, going all the way back to Genesis 3, verse
All
6.
right, I only wrote down 6 of the
From the
promises,
seed of the woman
so I must not be paying attention.
is going to come one who's going to crush the serpent's head. There's going to come upon the earth a kingdom of God. And it's in Genesis 12, we learned that through which man and through which people group this kingdom will come, the nation of Israel. The third thing to understand about these promises is that they're literal.
Oh, okay.
This is the dispute that I would have with a lot of interpreters, because they make these promises sound as if it's in heaven somewhere. But in reality, these are very earthly promises. So we start to get a hint here of an earthly kingdom on planet Earth.
Literal.
And notice, if you will, Genesis 11.
Yeah, 11:31.
Verse 31.
So you can read
It
it.
says in Genesis 11,
Okay.
verse 31, Terah, that's Abram's father, took Abram his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his grandson, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went together from Ur of the Chaldeans in order to enter the land of Canaan, and they went as far as Haran and settled there. So let me ask you a question. Is the land of Canaan a literal place? Well, of course it is, because it's juxtaposed against Ur, which is a literal place, isn't it? And Haran, which is a literal place. So if you believe that Abram was literally called out of an actual place called Ur of the Chaldeans in Mesopotamia, and most everybody believes that's a literal place, then by definition, you have to make Canaan a literal place. You can't just pick and choose what parts of these are going to be literal and earthly and which ones are not. And over in Genesis 13,
Okay.
14 through 17,
I got it.
it says this: The Lord said to Abram after Lot had separated from him, "Now lift up your eyes and look from the place from where you are, northward, southward, eastward, westward. For all the land which you see, I will give it to your descendants forever." Verse 16, I will make your descendants as the dust of the earth, so that if anyone can number the dust of the earth, then your descendants can also be numbered. Look at verse 17. Arise, walk about the land through its length.
Oh, thank you, Janet, for subscribing. I appreciate it. And no worries that you weren't. I don't really expect this channel to grow too much. I kind of just wanted to be here in case someone stumbles upon it. And I think doing the study, I think this could be good. I feel like it makes going through the study, like having someone with you, could be really good. So.
And breadth, for I will give it to you. So this obviously has to be a piece of real estate, because Abram, by God's command, was told to actually walk around the land that his descendants would one day possess. Start to get some information about the dimensions of the land. It says, on that day the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying to your descendants, I have given this land from the river of Egypt as far as the great river of Euphrates. The Canaanite, the Kenizzite, the Cadomite, the Hittite, the Perizzite, and the Electricite, and the Raphaim, just seeing if you guys are awake, the Amorite, and the Canaanite, and the Girgashite, and the Jebusite. So notice the land there is mentioned, Genesis 15.
Yeah.
I think that's in verse 18.
To your sense, I've given this land.
And the land that Abram and his descendants will possess one day is analogized to the river of Egypt and the river Euphrates.
True.
Now, was the Euphrates an actual river? Of course it is. How about the river of Egypt? Some think that's the Nile. Some think it's what's called Wadi El Irish. There's a debate on.
Yes, Janet, my wife is playing piano. She's teaching music. So sorry if that's a little too loud. But we got thin walls here. So
that, but whatever the river of Egypt is, it's a literal place.
Hey, at least it sounds good, right? Also, I'll be right back, guys. All right, I'm back, guys. Sorry. So I walk out and our front door is just randomly open. No one opened it. I guess it wasn't closed all the way. It was kind of spooky. So, all right, here we go.
So obviously the land, which is compared to those rivers, must be a literal place as well. See that? See, and this is all initial hints in the Bible of the earthly kingdom that one day God is going to set up on planet Earth. Now, how about all of these ites? Were those literal people groups? Yeah, they were actually Canaanites living in Canaan. That's why it's called Canaan at the time. So just like these are all literal people groups on planet Earth, Abram and his descendants must also be inheritors of as a literal people group on planet Earth. And see, what people like to do is they want to drag this promise and they want to go all the way to the right-hand side of the screen, which is the new heavens and new earth. And they want to say, well, this is a promise that's going to be fulfilled in the eternal state.
Hmm.
And that really is not our belief. We believe that before the eternal state is set up, there's an intermediary.
Also, I just want to say, like, the bias against this kind of stuff, because when I uh when I was a Christian and I was kind of like, especially when I was put more in the reform circles, like when I was more influenced there and wasn't there for a good while. Man, we used to clown on people that had charts like this because, like, if you had a chart, like you were just that conspiracy theorist, wacko guy. But now I'm realizing, like, no, the charts just is just telling you what they think, and it's actually laying out the time for everything. And so, anyways, man, I repent of that. Like, you got to take people seriously, Well, not everybody, but I mean, if there's a different view, you actually got to look into it. So, anyways, I just wanted to say that, like, this, like, I remember when we used to clown on stuff like this, but now it's like, no, all those things are mentioned in the Bible. Anyways,
1,000-year kingdom. We believe these promises are not going to be set up in the eternal state. We believe they're going to be set up primarily, at least initially, in the 1,000-year kingdom. And we can't just drag this over into the eternal state the way many people want. Why is that? Because Abram walked around this earth. He was actually walking on soil on planet Earth
this is a good
when
point.
God
This
made these
chart,
promises to him. The eternal state is not this earth. It's a new earth. So in order for these promises to come to pass, God can't allow the present earth to go out of existence until these promises are realized. And once they're realized, then he is free to destroy this world by fire, 2 Peter 3, verse 10, and replace it with a new heavens and new earth. But these promises that are being given here are not applicable to the eternal state. These are applicable to the 1,000-year kingdom, which precedes the eternal state, which is brought into existence after our Lord returns at the end of the tribulation period. So these promises are necessary. It was necessary for God to raise up Israel. As God began to work with Abram, he gave him very specific
hold on, sorry guys, I want to look that up. 2 Peter 3:10, he cited for this present earth being put away. Because I've heard, okay, yeah, like there's gonna be new heaven, new earth, but isn't it kind of crazy? Like, again, we used to clown on dispensationalism. Oh no, like all that wacko stuff. You actually think there's gonna be, like, God's gonna bring in a whole new earth, and you like the rapture? You think that's real? Like, come on, like what? But then, if it was so crazy, why are they writing about it? Hold on. So he said, 2 Peter 3:10. All right, here we go. But the day of the Lord, okay, will come like a thief, and then the heavens will pass away with a roar, and the heavenly bodies, my footnote says, or elements, where was I? Will be burned up and dissolved, and the earth and the works that are done on it will be exposed. Greek found some manuscripts will be burned up. Okay, so this is the ESV. I wonder if it has a link. I wonder what other translations say. Again, maybe I've already been doing this one's been going too long. This video. I don't want to take up too much time. So maybe that's something we can look at later. But yeah, like
promises.
Peter talked about it. That's crazy.
About 8 or 9 total. These promises are very earthly and literal. And something else to understand is these promises relate to Abram's physical descendants. God has purposed to bless the world. I'm happy about that, aren't you? Because that would include me. But he has purposed that the blessings would come to me through the physical descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God is using Israel in a special way. He can't use any other nation because they've been corrupted by this mother-child, idolatrous, harlotrous system. So all of these promises relate to Abram's physical descendants. And you'll notice that in Genesis 15, verses 4 and 5. Then behold, the word of the Lord came to him saying, now Abram was kind of weak in faith at some points, wasn't he? I don't really blame him for that. I mean, how would you feel at the age of 99 or 100? If the Lord came and told you and your wife you'd have a child. Through him the promises are going to come. Now notice what God says. Then behold, the word of the Lord came to him, saying, this man will not be your heir, but one will come forth from your own what? Body. He shall be your heir. And he took him outside, and he said, now look outwards, look towards the heavens and count the stars, if you can count them. Kind of an interesting point here is you can go back in history, and all of these philosophers and so-called scientists thought the stars could be counted. And now with the advent of technology that we have today, like the Hubble telescope and things like that, we learn that the stars are innumerable. So God makes kind of a challenge to Abraham, count the stars if you can. Hint, hint. You kind of get the idea that an omniscient God who spoke this designed the universe that we're in. Don't you get that picture? And that he knows how many stars are actually out there. He took him outside and said, now look towards the heavens and count the stars if you're able to count them. And he said to him, so shall your descendants be. In other words, this innumerable people group is going to come from Abraham's own body. So these are not just generic promises to anybody, because God has purposed to bless Israel, and through Israel, the world will be blessed. And you're starting to see the foundation of it here in early Genesis. You remember Genesis 12:7? The Lord appeared to Abram and said, to your descendants, I will give this land.
Yes.
So it's very clear that it's through Abram's physical lineage that these promises are going to come. That's why the birth of Isaac is such a big deal. Abraham and Sarah had to wait on the Lord for a long time for that kid to be born. And that's why Abraham really had to walk by faith when God told Abraham related to Isaac, now I want you to take Isaac and kill him at Mount Moriah. And the book of Hebrews tells us that at that time, Abraham reasoned that God would do what? Even if he killed Isaac. Rise him from the dead, because these promises are ironclad. So the whole program is going to go from Abraham to Isaac. We've got to wait for the birth of Isaac, who is a physical descendant of Abram. It's not going to be Eliezer of Damascus. It's not going to be a common slave in the household. It's going to be through Abram's own body. And then, of course, from Isaac will come Jacob. And then from Jacob will come Jacob's dozen, who became the 12 tribes. And then of those 12 tribes, keep your eye on a very special tribe, the tribe of Judah, because the king is going to come from the tribe of Judah. Now, at this point, the promises that Abram has, I mean, it would be one thing, would it not, to have a promise from God? Not just a promise, but promises. What did we say, 8 or 9 of them here?
Yeah, that's wild.
But at this point, the promise takes on covenantal force. Notice, if you will, Genesis 15 and verse 18. God takes these promises and ratifies them into a Near Eastern covenant. And it says this, on that day, the Lord made a what? Covenant with Abraham,
yes,
saying to your descendants, I have given this land. Now, this is the first time the word covenant shows up in the Bible relative to God's dealings with Abraham, whose name at this time is still Abram. The only other time in the Bible that the word covenant has ever been used thus far is God's covenant with who? Noah, which is not a covenant of redemption. It's a covenant where human government comes into existence to restrain evil, where the sword was placed in the hands of the government. And Genesis 9:6, you see the beginning of the institution of capital punishment in our Bible and voting series that we did at this church on Sunday mornings. We went into a little bit into the Noahic covenant. You can go back and listen to those sermons to get some background on the Noahic covenant. And of course, every covenant has a sign. The sign of the Noahic covenant is the what?
Rainbow.
Rainbow. The sign of the Abrahamic covenant, as we're going to discover, is what? Circumcision. The sign of the Mosaic.
Which are two very different things. That's all I gotta say.
Mosaic covenant, which we haven't even covered yet, is what? The Sabbath. And then the sign of the new covenant, which we haven't even talked about yet, is what? The communion table.
Yeah.
So every covenant has a sign. And the covenant with Noah had the sign of a rainbow. So we're not dealing with the Noahic covenant. That's the only time the word covenant has ever shown up yet. And now, for the first time, as God is dealing with Abram, the word covenant shows up. It says, on that day, the Lord made a covenant with Abram. The Hebrew word for covenant, translated covenant, is berith. And I cannot emphasize to you what a big deal that word is. The best I can analogize it to is it would be analogous to a legal contract. That's the only thing I can come up with. God is legally not just promising. God is legally contracting himself. He is legally obligating himself to fulfill those 8 or 9 promises going back to Genesis 12. And that's why these promises have to be literal. They have to be literal because the rest of the meaning as to whether God has met his obligations under the covenant. In order to determine breach of a contract, you look at the performance of the parties, right? So you have a contract to borrow money. You have a contract to take out a loan for a house, mortgage contract. Think of all of the kinds of contractual arrangements you enter into.
And think about how amazing is God to come into covenant berith, or however you say it, to come into this promise with a sinner, like a literal idolater. And yet God puts himself on the side that says, hey, I'm the one that's going to do it for you. I'm going to do it. To this person who has trespassed and broken his moral law over and over his whole life, every day, right? And yet God does it for the redemption of mankind. What? Man, that's beautiful.
Have you ever once entered into an allegorical contract?
No. I don't allegorize the lease that I get from my landlord on the parameters in which I can live in his place. Really, when you start thinking about it like that, yeah, isn't that it's crazy when you start, right? Anyways,
every contract you've ever entered into is literal, isn't it? The terms are literal.
They have to be, and they're so literal, and you use such precise language so that you cannot try and get a loophole and get out of it.
To be literal, because you have to determine compliance and breach. See that?
Yeah.
That's why lawyers love the system of theology we're describing here, because a lawyer is trained in contract law and they understand the nature of a contract. And they understand the nature of compliance and breach. And the only way to determine compliance and breach of a contract is terms of the contract are construed according to their ordinary sense. You see that? So on that day, the Lord made a covenant with Abram. Everything God has said he would do in and through Abram at this point is a promise, which would be enough. But God now says, I'm going to up it a little bit, not a little bit, but a lot. I'm going to take those promises and ratify them into an actual legal contract.
Yeah.
Now, in ancient times, they didn't use the word contract. They used this word covenant, which is the Hebrew word berith. So at this point, Abram's promises take on covenantal force.
Okay. Yes.
Now, what are these promises that God gave to Abram? What do we say, 8 promises or 9? I keep going back and forth. We said 9. Let's go with 9. We can take those promises and we can simplify them and break them into 3 categories. He promised Abram, number 1, land. He promised Abram, number 2, seed, or innumerable descendants, as innumerable as the stars. And he promised Abram, number 3, a personal blessing. So let's kind of unpack these.
Sure.
The first thing God promised to Abram is land.
Oh, well, okay.
On that day, the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying to your descendants, I give this land from the river of Egypt as far as the great river Euphrates. Look at the size of that land. It's fairly large. It's much bigger than even what Israel possesses today,
That's wild.
just west of the Jordan River.
Now, I'm not
It's
too
a
good.
tract of real estate.
I'm not too good with geography, even enough to even look at this and be like, oh yeah, I know how big this is. That's just, you know, I just need to be smarter. But yeah, that's pretty. What Israel initially possessed. What do they mean by initially? Like during Old Testament rule? Because either way, that's wild.
State that literally stretches all the way from modern day Egypt,
Oh, numbers.
all the way up to modern day Iraq. It's a tract of real estate that the nation of Israel,
Egypt to Iraq. Okay.
Both in the Bible and in modern times, has never fully occupied. In fact, that darker area is what the Joshua generation got. That broader, lighter area is everything that God has promised.
See, he answers my question.
Not just a promise, but now a covenant. So Abram is promised land stretching from the river of Egypt all the way to the Euphrates.
Well, and think about it, guys. Like he said, it hasn't happened yet. It hasn't happened yet. So what does that mean? Does it mean that it means it has to happen, right? That's what we're saying. If it hasn't happened yet. So it needs to be fulfilled.
So we have land, verses 18 through 21. By the way, I'm in Genesis 15. Genesis 15 is the most important chapter in the Bible.
Whoa.
Now, the first time one of my teachers told me that, I didn't believe that was true. He said, what's the most important chapter of the Bible? I thought, well, John 3. Because that has John 3:16.
I was going to say John 3. It's important. It's just it's here it says.
In it. And my professor, Dwight Pentecost, said, no, the most important chapter in the Bible is Genesis 15. Because it's in Genesis 15 that God contractually binds himself. And all that is happening in the rest of the Bible is God is making good on these promises, literally construed, because God in the Bible starts fitting into place. The rest of the Bible is God simply making good on what he contractually obligated himself to do in Genesis 15. Abram in Genesis 15, number one, is given land. Backing up a little bit. Number two.
Hold on, guys. Yes. Andy does have the strongest polo game out there. Actually, I will say, my friend Aaron Marshall, you should see his polo game. He's even got the logo polos, the embroidered polos. And you know what's crazy about him? He'll even button it all the way up. Now that's hardcore. Good to have you here, Taylor. We're just wrapping up. We've had a few kinks along the way, but it's been fun. Please tell me if the quality is okay. All right.
He's given seed. And by the way, before I even get to the seed, do you want to make Genesis 15, 18 through 21? Should we drag it to the far right-hand side of the screen and make that part of the eternal state? Doesn't fit there, does it? Because it talks about the river of Egypt and the river Euphrates.
True.
That both flowed into a common source into the ocean, didn't they? When you look at this map here. What are you not going to have in the eternal state? John and...
Oh, the audio has been cutting a bit. Man, you know what? I'm telling you, this stinking internet. You know, I may need to either get better internet or I don't know. I don't know why this Ethernet isn't working. I'm trying to plug it in. Maybe it's not working because I'm streaming right now. I'll definitely figure that out for next time.
Revelation 21 and verse 1 said he saw no sea. Genesis 15, verse 18 through 21 is talking about two rivers.
And you know, my wife is using the Wi-Fi as well to teach her lessons at this time. That's definitely probably got to play into it.
Connected to a sea. So all of these theologians that want to say this is not part of the intermediate...
Okay, hold on. We gotta look it up. Revelation 21:1. No sea. No sea? What if you like swimming? I'm sure God's going to have a way in the end. Honestly, I don't care. If God says, hey, guess what? You're going to be with me forever, but unfortunately you can't swim. What am I? Am I going to complain? All right. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. Oh, I feel like I knew that. I wonder the significance about that. Huh. The sea was no more. Maybe water's evil and we shouldn't drink it.
Kingdom that God is going to set up on planet Earth, let's just drag all this stuff to the eternal state. It does not fit. It does not fit the details. The eternal state is an entirely different matter.
Wait, yeah. Wait, how can the kingdom be from the river to the river if there's... Okay.
So Abram is going to have land. He's also going to have seed or descendants coming forth from where? His own body.
I could put on
So
captions.
shall your descendants be. So through Isaac and then Jacob and then the 12 tribes is going to come this innumerable race of people that God is going to use to bless planet Earth. So we have land in Genesis 15. We have seed in Genesis 15. In fact, that seed is going to be more numerable than the stars of heaven. And hopefully nobody set off a fire alarm.
I thought that was me. Okay.
And then the next thing that we're given here is land, seed, and what? Blessing. Look at Genesis 15 and verse 1. God promises a personal blessing to Abram.
Oh, yeah. If anyone's here right now, Janet says, hi, Cole. 10 minutes, Layman Seminary. We'll be going live. We'll be watching after YouTube Live. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of timed this because I wanted to be before Charles. I will try and join. But if anyone's here and they want to join that too, you guys should hop in that. All right. Let's finish. Let's wrap this up.
It says, after these things, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision, saying, do not fear, Abram. I am a shield to you. Your what? Reward shall be very great. So God didn't just give him land. He didn't just promise him innumerable descendants, but he promised him a personal blessing. He said, I'll be like a shield to you, and I'll be the one that rewards you. So those 9 blessings, you can sort of simplify it into 3 major categories: land, seed, and blessing.
Yeah.
And you really start seeing that develop in Genesis 15.
I've heard that before.
Now, something else to understand about the Abrahamic covenant is it is ironclad reliable. It's ironclad reliable because, number one, Abraham didn't just have promises, but he had, number 2, a what? A covenant. And if that weren't enough, number 3, this goes directly to the character of God. Can God lie? He cannot lie. In fact, the Bible tells us over and over again that it is impossible for God to what? To lie.
Come on. Preach it, Dr. Woods. Yes, sir. It's that simple. See, I feel like it's that simple, right? When it comes to the promises, land, seed, blessing, and God cannot lie. Those things are going to happen, right?
Philosophers, ask this question, well, can God make a rock so big that he can't lift?
No, he cannot. Just want to...
No, he can't. God cannot make a rock so big that he can't lift.
I see you, Dr. Woods.
That would violate God's character.
Okay.
Who's sovereign over his creation at all times. For God to make a rock so big that he can't lift would be creation is controlling God rather than the other way around.
Well, I would say that it's not logically possible. That could also be a good point. Okay.
There are certain things God can't do.
We came to the same answer. It's all right.
And one of the things God cannot do is lie. And see, this is why you have the commandment in the Bible, thou shalt not what? Lie. If we're really to be imitators of the character of God, we should be people of truth, because it's an impossibility for God to lie.
Come on.
Numbers 23 and verse 19.
Wait, I got to write this down.
It says this over and over again, the impossibility of God to lie. Numbers 23 and verse 19 says, God is not a man that he should lie. Lying is what human beings do in their depravity, not what God does.
Yes.
Over in the book of Titus, chapter 1 and verse 2, Titus chapter 1, verse 2.
Yep.
It says, in the hope of eternal life, which God, who cannot lie, promised long ago. And one more, just for good measure,
Here.
Hebrews.
Hold on, guys. Let me this out. Because my wife made yellow chicken curry, and guess what? When your wife makes yellow chicken curry, you speed this up so you can go eat it.
Says this, Hebrews chapter 6, verse 18, so that by two unchangeable things. Now, in context, what are the two unchangeable things that Abraham had? It says, so that by two unchangeable things, which it is impossible for God to lie. So there has to come a point in history where God makes good on all of these promises for the simple reason that it is impossible for God to lie. And see, what you're starting to see develop very early on in the Bible is this belief that there has to be an earthly kingdom on planet Earth. Unless you want to pretend like these promises are just spiritual or allegorical or symbolic.
And also, I think the question that comes after that is not only would you have to just say what, so you'd have to make the Bible fit and give them symbols and allegorize it all. But then I feel like you'd also have to prove why that would be more likely than a literal reading of the text.
You would have to defy the ordinary laws of language to believe that. That's what I'm kind of laboring here to show you. And then one more point, and a vast point, so I won't be able to get into it tonight. We'll have to pick up here at last week. But these promises that Abraham has, land, seed, and blessing, become the basis for the sub-covenants.
Okay.
See, there's one foundational covenant, the covenant he made with Abraham, Genesis 15. Land, seed, and blessing. Those three provisions are given further detail and amplification in subsequent specific promises or covenants that God makes later on in biblical history. And with all of these other covenants, we call them the sub-covenants because they flow out of the foundational Abrahamic covenant. In all these sub-covenants, the Hebrew word berith is used in all these other sub-covenants as well. So the land promises in the Abrahamic covenant are given further amplification and clarity in what is called the land covenant that God made with Moses 600 years after the time of Abraham.
Yeah. Okay.
The seed promises of the Abrahamic covenant are given greater clarity.
I can't wait to get into this.
Amplification and development in what is called the Davidic covenant.
I'm sure we will, right? Later?
Which is a covenant that God entered into with David in 2 Samuel 7, 12 through 16, about 1,000 years after the time of Abraham. The blessings, the personal blessings, is given greater clarity and development and detail and amplification in what is called the new covenant, which is revealed in Jeremiah 31, verses 31 through 34. And that covenant isn't even revealed until almost prior to the time of the deportation, about, 1,400 years, roughly, after the time of Abraham. So what is God doing in these sub-covenants? He's not changing the original structure at all. The original structure is right there in Genesis 15. Nothing changes. The only thing these sub-covenants do is add more information. See that? And because God cannot lie, he never alters what he originally said. He just adds more and more details. And as I'll be showing you next week, if you understand that these covenants are literal, something called unconditional and unfulfilled, and God can't lie, you start to see how he has to move his hand in history, or else he's the one that has egg on his face. So he has to establish this earthly kingdom through the Hebrew people. He has to. It's just a matter of time before it happens because of the ironclad nature of this covenant.
I love ironclad. Man, God is ironclad. That's tough.
So number one, the covenant is necessary because of the corruption of the earth due to the mother-child cult. Number two, God calls Abram from Ur of the Chaldeans and gives him promises, 9 promises. Number three, these promises are literal. Number four, these promises are going to be channeled through Abram's physical descendants. Number five, these promises take on covenantal force in Genesis 15. Let's see, 1, 2, lost count there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number six, you can, for purposes of simplicity, categorize these promises in land, seed, and blessing. Was that number 7? Is that number 7? Number 7.
Sorry, guys. My wife was telling me just how good the yellow chicken curry is. I'm telling you.
And these promises are reliable.
Come on, let's wrap it up. What?
And number 8.
I'm just kidding. I'm loving
this. The kingdom that's coming. See, this is the mistake people are making. They're getting their whole understanding of a coming kingdom from Revelation 20, verses 1 through 10. So they call us premillennialists a one-text theology. Oh, you guys are just getting that from Revelation 20. I can't think of a more of a misstatement than to say something like that.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about it.
Revelation 20 is just the end of the matter.
Yeah.
The whole thing has already been developed going back to early Genesis. Do you follow? So we'll continue on this next time and talk more about these covenants. So at this time we will.
Thought it was funny. All right. So guys. I'm going to look back on this. I'm going to see that I was muted. I'm going to see that the audio's choppy. And I'm going to see all these things. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do my best to make sure that doesn't happen anymore. That is the simple. That's the simple. All right. And so I don't know why my YouTube, I don't know why my picture's like this, where it kind of has like a crescent moon of the white on my Free Life Live. But anyways, next week, I believe the session is the Davidic Covenant. Can't wait for it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We are definitely going to iron this out, and this is going to be a fun ride. If you like this, if you want to keep up with it, subscribe, because then guess what? You'll see when I go live. Hit the notification button. Maybe we'll have people jump in, be a part of some lessons. It could be fun. Again, Coming Kingdom, and Andy Woods. This is all his stuff. All right. I'm here just listening and learning. All right. So bottom right of the screen, the Coming Kingdom, Andy Woods. Buy the book. Support the guy. At least support the fact that, a study, even if you don't agree with them, it's good to at least, you want to hear what he has to say. He's obviously well studied. I mean, we just spent an hour on the Abrahamic covenant, and we didn't even really get into the nitty gritty. So anyways, all right. Thank you guys so much. This has been Free Life Live, and I will catch you guys later.